A brand new big discount versus box today, and it's set on Holy Terror itself. Let's take a look at what's coming for the Custodes and the Genestealer cults. Hello and welcome back to Auspex Tactics, the strategy focused 40k channel, where today we're talking about some of the breaking news from Warhammer Community's live stream. Their Warhammer Day reveals kicked off in pretty decent style, with the news that the Custodes and Genestealer cult codexes are coming soon, and quite similarly to a few other armies in 9th edition, they're going to be getting a big versus box with a couple of new characters. In this video we'll take a quick look at the contents of the box, a couple of the new miniatures, and talk about whether or not it looks like a good deal. And we might make a video or two talking about the new codex announcements later in the day or tomorrow. So let's start out with the contents of the box itself then. The box is called Shadow Throne, and it's kind of a big deal lore-wise, as it represents a Genestealer cult incursion into Holy Terror itself. I believe it's long been confirmed that there is a Genestealer cult operating on Terror, apparently under the flag of the Pauper Princes, and this represents that mini-narrative coming to a head, with the Custodes unveiling the rot that's lying below the Golden Throne itself, and cracking down characteristically swiftly and brutally. It's kind of interesting to have a box set pit one of the less elite forces in 40k against some of the most elite soldiers in the whole galaxy, but to me the two sides still seem kind of balanced, even if the Genestealer cult side is very character heavy. The box set will be coming out in December alongside the Custodes and Genestealer cult codexes, which are already confirmed to be released then, so shouldn't be too long to wait if you do want to get your hands on this. As is often the case with these big boxes, to drive the sales of them, they've included a couple of the new characters. They'll be released here first and then come out individually in a few months' time. For the Custodes, they get a Blade Champion, which we'll look at a little bit more in a second. He sounds like a bit of a character killer, fighty character, as opposed to more of a leader for your troops. And the Genestealer cults get a Reductus Saboteur, the demolitions expert that they've kind of shown off a few times in the rumour engines, and we had a fairly good idea was likely to be coming something like this. In general miniature wise though, the Custodes get the Custodes Blade Champion, 3 Alaris Terminators, and 5 Sisters of Silence, which can be assembled as any of the 3 types, so just the 9 models in total, though those 3 Terminators are about some of the most elite troops in the entire galaxy of 40k. On the Genestealer cult side we have a slightly interesting mix. They've got the Reductus Saboteur. They appear to have a copy of the Brood Coven box inside. That's the one that's the Patriarch, Magus and Primus, so the 3 most iconic characters in the Genestealer cult army. And for rank and file they only have the single box of Neophyte hybrids. For contents of the box, I think the Custodes one isn't too bad. The Custodes don't really have all that many plastic kits outside of Forge World. The only other 2 big options that they had were either the standard Custodian Guard or the jet bikes. I feel like one of those might have been a bit more helpful than the actual Sisters of Silence. They just maybe feel a touch more niche than the standard Custodes. They're certainly pretty nice models still. For the Genestealer cult though, I can't see this as maybe having quite as broad appeal to Genestealer cult collectors. I feel like it could be a pretty decent start to a collection, getting the most important characters and a squad of troops, but I feel like the vast majority of Genestealer cult players are already going to have the Patriarch, Primus and Magus, so basically half of their contents money-wise are likely to be repeat character models that you don't really need. For me it seems like a good way that you might want to jump into Genestealer cults, but could be pretty annoying if literally all you want is the new demolitions expert. You might have to wait until they're released individually. Totting up the prices, at least in British pounds, it looks like you get around about £167, at least if you bought all of the miniatures separately directly from Games Workshop. I'm of course basing the Custodes Blade Champion and the Reductus Saboteur based on similar sized characters they've released recently. I strongly suspect that this is going to be a similar line to the other big versus boxes that they've done this year, the ones like Piety and Pain and Hexfire, which were £105 or $170 US. As usual for these, the discount is fairly good compared with buying them separately, around about 37% off the total price, but of course bear in mind whether or not you'll actually use all these miniatures. If you don't have someone to split it with, or to resell the half that you don't want, presuming of course that you aren't both a Custodes and a Genestealer cult player, the value might be a bit less than that. As these boxes go, I'm going to guess this might be a little bit less popular than some. Genestealer cult are a little bit of a niche faction still in 40k. They don't see quite as wide play with some of the others, and as I said, I think this might only appeal to a subset of Genestealer cult players, just due to how character heavy it is. Overall, maybe not the most helpful combination of miniatures. It might be a bit more interesting to look out for the Combat Patrol boxes for the Genestealer cult and Custodes, which are almost bound to be following the release of the codexes, either shortly after, or perhaps a few months down the line. Finally, I thought we'd just round up by a quick look at the Blade Champion and the Reductus Saboteur. The Blade Champion is basically the Lieutenant level Custodes, We saw a leaked blurry image of him earlier in the week, and it's quite nice to see him in some better definition. The miniature certainly doesn't look quite as heavily armoured as some of the other Custodes. He's a bit more in keeping with some of the fast attack choices, things like the Virtus Praetors or the Ventari Custodes, and I do kind of wonder whether he's still going to have a 2+ armour save, or whether he might be a 3+ like the Ventari. I quite like the dynamic running pose that he has. Certainly looks like he's come at you with that great sword and you don't want to get in the way, and it does seem like he's going to be the only release for Custodes at this point, which is maybe a bit of a shame, as they're kind of over-reliant on Forge World as a faction if they want to have a well-rounded army. Rules-wise, apparently he's designed to be a champion-style miniature, maybe similar to an Emperor's Champion from Black Templars or a Master of Executions from Chaos Space Marines. I'm going to guess that he's not going to have any sort of leadership abilities or re-rolling ones to wound or anything, but it's just going to be extra good in melee and incredibly fighty in combat. In the Warhammer community post, they said that he can switch between 3 different fighting styles and be better at either taking down monsters, characters, or swarms of lighter infantry. Perhaps it's going to be one of those rules where he has 3 different profiles on the blade, so he's going to be quite a generalist melee threat no matter what he's going up against. I think that is kind of important if the main selling point for him is just to be a melee monster. Otherwise he is going to look pretty redundant compared with a shield captain who can still fight very well in melee but can also lead as well. On the Genestealer cult side, we have this Reductus Saboteur, basically a demolitions and explosives expert character, thoroughly tying in with the Genestealer cult's mining theme, and officially confirms a couple of rumour engine previews that pretty much gave away the nature of the character already, as we'd already seen a Genestealer cult type arm holding a detonator. Kind of interesting that the miniature's got an alternate head. One's a little bit less corrupted, one's half and half, between a slightly more human face and a thoroughly corrupted Genestealer type face. I quite like that that's such a common include on their character miniatures these days to give people different options for fielding the looks of the character. It looks like she could be quite good fun to use in game, but maybe it is adding another minor support character into an army that's got loads of minor support characters. Might have been a bit more exciting for the cultists if they had another different unit to field. We have had a few fun hints on her rules as well. Apparently she gets to represent planting concealed explosives all over the battlefield before it begins, and gets to detonate them in style, represented as a shooting attack. I don't know whether it'll deal just direct damage with a profile or some sort of mortal wounds, but in theory that could be really quite powerful. Whenever you have good shooting that can be concealed by the character targeting rules, it is kind of hopeful of having good value there, with the potential to shoot but not be shot. I'm going to presume that she's going to have some sort of very dangerous grenades to throw at the enemy if they get too close as well. Maybe having multiple demolition charges or something. Could be fun though, certainly look forward to reviewing her rules in full once we do get the Genestealer Cult Codex. So let me know what you think down in the comments below. Is the box interesting, or do you think that they could have put some different miniatures in there? I look forward to hearing your thoughts and ideas down in the comments. I'll most certainly make another video in the near future talking about the new Codex releases, so feel free to stay tuned for that, and subscribe to Auspex Tactics if you'd like. I'll certainly review the books on the channel once they're out. Finally, if you've been enjoying the videos on the channel and you'd like to help support, I'd just like to mention that Auspex Tactics does have a Patreon page, and that's down in the video description below. The channel Patreon is what allows me to make quite so many videos quite so regularly, and if you are enjoying a lot, then any support is enormously appreciated. Channel patrons do get a fair few advantages, including seeing certain videos early, regular votes to see what sort of things come next on the channel, and automatic entry into the regular prize giveaways with a chance to win some really big model kits each month. If any of that sounds good, or you'd just like to help keep the videos coming, the link's down in the video description. In any case, a massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.